Hello, friends, and welcome to another fun-filled episode of Fun with Cheese. Best product known to man. Milk, cheese, butter, it's all good. I had my fill today, I must say. Today's shout-out is a shout-out for safety. You've oftentimes seen this shirt as an instructor of tractor, hunter, ATV, snowmobile safety classes. I was a product of my uncle's farm in the 1980s. And if you knew my Uncle Putz, you know he was an amazing guy and provided those cool opportunities that we all knew growing up on the farm. We didn't have kick bale wagons. We loaded hay and unloaded hay by hand, every in the hand. And as a youngster of the age of 9, I got to do many things in the farm that many people would shudder at today. But those are the things that we did. And at the age of 9, I was riding on the fender of the tractor, and my cousin Nick said to me, "Take the wheel. You put your front tire along the windrow and drive straight." And my Uncle Putz said, "Go for it." And so they do these things. And I wasn't tall enough to reach the clutch. So when it came time to stop, they would jump off the wagon because we were in first gear crawling along because this is what we did. And they'd jump onto the tractor and push the clutch in for me. That's what we did. But it was those experiences that made me into the fame of ag that I am today, and entrusted all of us. Sorry, the dog has a bone here somewhere. Oh, he has a ball. Ah! And there it went. But at those days in the haymow, we worked hard. And this week was another good week. We worked hard, maybe not moving hay bales. Maybe you did move hay bales. Maybe you dug a water line. Maybe you welded. Maybe you got done with your milking shift. Maybe you put in a couple hundred acres of field work this week. But Uncle Putz would always have this at the end of the day. And he'd go to Andy's in Vesper, and he'd come home with this for all of us who helped out. Point's one of those special things that you remember how people made you feel, and through those experiences, those feelings. But this was always what the adults would sit down at the end of the day, and then a whole case of returnable bottles from Andy's. It was in Vesper. It was a great little supermarket. It wasn't open on Sundays. It had a meat cutter, butcher, all the wonderful things that you needed, supported their community. But this is where we got it from, and it was this tradition of what we did is what helped us remember today. Safety glasses, earmuffs, bright colored shirts when we're out there. If you're behind a tractor, it takes you 2 miles behind a tractor is the same as sitting through 2 stoplights in town. Just remember that. Stay behind. Double yellow line applies to you, even if you're behind a tractor. So, this butter be good. Yeah, why am I going on like this? Because this butter be good. Let me take the earmuffs off so I can talk to you a little bit. Take the glasses off so I can see you. So, our topic tonight was inspired by Miss Amber Golden, one of my co-teachers at Auburndale High School, who said that she got really bored with butter. And so her and her kids decided to make some flavored butters. And I thought that would be a good episode for us to discover, as butter is the best. Not margarine. That's a molecule away from plastic. That's vegetable oil and some flavoring and coloring. Butter. So, butter is as old as Western civilization. In ancient Rome, it was medicinal. It was used as a cough suppressant. You would eat butter. They swallowed it and use it for spreading on aching joints. In India, Hindus were using it to offering Lord Krishna full tubs of ghee, luscious clarified butter, for 3,000 years. And in the Bible, butter as food for celebration was mentioned, with Abraham and Sarah offering 3 visiting angels a feast of meat, milk, and a creamy yellow spread. Butter's origins are more humble. The rumor has it that a nomad made the first batch by accident, as every dairy product is. He probably tied a sheepskin bag of milk, jostling around, looked in the bag, and realized there was this lump of coagulated milk fat. Tried it and thought, wow, this is pretty good. I'll spread it on some bread. Although the earliest records of butter consumption go back from Roman to Arabian sources, Mediterranean people have always favored it to oil in their cooking. So much so that Alexandrius, the Greek poet, derisively referred to the barbarians from the north as butter eaters. Climate likely played a key role. Regional tastes and cool weather in northern latitudes allowed people to store more butter longer than Mediterranean cultures could. And by the 12th century, butter business was booming across Europe. Records show that Scandinavian merchants exported tremendous amounts of butter each year. Butter, this stuff, was a commodity in the 12th century. Butter was so essential to life in Norway that a king demanded a full butter for tax. Not marriage though, just tax. If you've been following along. By the Middle Ages, eaters across much of Europe were hooked. Butter was popular amongst peasants as a cheap source of nourishment and prized by nobility for richness as it added to cooked meats and vegetables, as it does today. Ever had a Culver's Butterburger before? Yeah, there's butter in that. There's a place in Milwaukee that throws a quarter pound of butter on the meat patty. Whew. That's wicked and delicious. For Northern Europeans, without access to cooking oils, meal making was a struggle until weeks before Easter. Butter proved so necessary for cooking, in fact, that the wealthy often paid the church a hefty tithe for permission to eat fat during the month of self-denial. Demand for this perk was so high that in Rouen, northern France, the cathedral's Tour de Beurre, or the Butter Tower, was financed and built with such tithes. Imagine that. Butter being a commodity for trade. Across the English Channel and Ireland economy, merchants opened a butter exchange in Cork to help regulate the trade. Today, barrels of ancient Irish butter were traditionally buried in bogs for aging amongst the most archaeologically finds in the Emerald Isle. In France, butter was so in high demand in the 19th century that Emperor Napoleon III and ruined something that was so pure. I can call them that because I am French. So, later shortened to just margarine. Across the Atlantic, butter consumption started with the Pilgrims who packed several barrels when they came across in the Mayflower. During the next 3 centuries, butter became a staple on the American farm, and during the 20th century, Americans' annual consumption was an astonishing 18 pounds of butter per year. Nearly a stick and a half of butter per week, per person. During the Great Depression, World War II challenged America's love affair with butter. The turmoil brought shortages, rationing, and oleomargarine became a cheaper option for American families, and butter consumption suffered. And by the 1980s, it became a déclassé. By 1997, consumption of butter was down to 4.1 pounds per capita per year. Since then, butter has made a huge. Researchers have discovered that ingredients in old-style butter are significantly far worse. Old-style margarine is significantly worse than butter. And the saturated fats found in natural butter is a good thing. The passion for the delectable cuisine is bolstering consumption once again, and the artisanal butters appear in chilled grocery cases across the country. Have you ever seen rolled Irish butter wrapped in paper? That's one of the ones they're talking about. At the top of restaurants and around the globe, chefs are doing extraordinary things with millennia-old food, creating new exciting page in the history of butter. Now, when you go to Turks and Caicos or to Jamaica, guess what you'll find on the table? Our friends over in Greenwood have grassland butter in the restaurants. So, those are amazing things where we find them across the globe. Now, what can I do with butter? I've been quarantined for 46 days now, and I'm using butter. Now, most butter that you buy, you can buy salted butter or unsalted butter. Now, my friends, you can buy flavored butter, okay? You can buy it, or you can make it. This was one that was submitted to the World Cheese Championships, and this is a strawberry butter. Sound interesting? I'd put it on a bagel or a piece of toast or something like that, incorporating jam into it. That we make at school is a maple butter, where we incorporate butter and maple syrup and a little bit of cinnamon together, and so if you wanted a Southwest butter, you could use lime peel, cilantro, chipotle. If you wanted a Heartland butter, you can use 2 tablespoons of blue cheese with a half a cup of butter. Dairy State is a grated Parmesan and a fine cheddar mixed with butter. California is olive and rosemary. East Coast is Old Bay seasoning and grated lemon. Garlic basil was a basil, parsley, and garlic powder with sage and thyme. Maple, like I said, just mix a little bit of cinnamon in with your maple syrup and blend that in with your butter, and then put it in the refrigerator, chill it, spread it over your French toast. Cilantro and lime on a corn cob. honey almond, using honey and some almond together mixed in with your butter. Now, butter comes in many different ways. You can get a whole 1 pound block like this. This is called a quarter, meaning there's a 1/4 pound. And in this is 1/2 cup. So there's 2 cups of butter in a 1 pound. On the restaurant side, they will fill 40-pound blocks of butter. Yes, but that's for big food service places like Oreo and other places like that. When they make these, they need mega amounts of butter. It takes 21.2 gallons of milk to create 1 pound of butter. So when we have jerseys like over at my friend the Hughes Ranch, they have cows that give 4.5% butter fat, and we have whole milk, which is at 3.5%. They standardize it, so they pull off all that extra butter, and then that goes into a separate tank, which goes off to creameries, which use that, or they supplement their cheeses when they make butter K's or something like that, and they add extra cream to it to give it that creamy, fatty flavor. Butter can be frozen indefinitely, so when you come into a really sweet deal and you can buy a case of 30 blocks in a box, then you can freeze those blocks and pull them out when you need them. You can melt it in the microwave. You can use it to saute onions. You can use it to put on top of your baked potato. It comes in restaurants in foil packs, in plastic little single-serve cups, and things like that. So they've really figured out how to get butter to you and make it convenient for you. So the next time you're out, remember that this butter is a private label for a festival. We talked about 304. The 55 means it comes from Wisconsin. You can even see the label in the corner here, which says proudly Wisconsin Dairy on it, which means the Wisconsin product. And the 304 means that it comes from Grassland Dairy over in Greenwood. That's right, it's private labeling. They make the product, put it into your label. So if I wanted a Tricia Kiefer butter, Tricia Kiefer could pay Grassland to make a Tricia Kiefer butter label, and they would stock it in here, and we could all buy Tricia Kiefer butter. I see you're watching, so that's why I'm mentioning your name. But butter is one of those cool things, and I think we're all butter for it. This is another way that milk steps in immortality. I hope that you're all butter for it. Remember, remain calm and dairy on, and we'll see you tomorrow for night 47.